You're listening to Real Talk Texas on 570 KLIF News and Information. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert Steve Hakes.
Welcome to Real Talk Texas. I'm your host, Steve Hakes. Heard every Sunday here at noon on KLIF News and Information 570. Real Talk Texas is a forum where listeners can get real advice from real experts. And as always, you can reach out to me directly with your questions at realtalktexas.com. That's realtalktexas.com. Or call me at 214-643-6021. That's 214-643-6021. And yes, I'm a federally licensed mortgage originator. My license number is 242522. At the beginning of this month, we started talking about real estate in North Texas, and we've had some great guests on the show. And at the first couple weeks, we talked about the regular market out there, just the normal homes that are for sale, a non-distressed type of real estate that's out there. And we found out that it's really flipped from a buyer's market to a seller's market. And some of the times these listings are getting multiple offers once they go on the marketplace, which is really telling me as an originator that the Dallas-Fort Worth market is really starting to come back. It's really coming off that dip. We're not back to 2005, 2006 pricing levels, but at least we've got some stabilization in the market right now. And actually prices are starting to come up a bit. So that's been pretty interesting. And one of the things I wanted to do the latter part of this month was flip into the distress market, the properties that maybe there's a situation going on with the owner, or maybe it's a property that's a little underwater based on the dip in values that we've had. And last week we had Alicia Trevino on, and she's graced us again by coming into our studio today. Last week, Alicia focused on short sales, and what those are basically pre-foreclosed homes, and that our listeners that may be in that situation should really reach out to Alicia and her group, because they're experts in that, and they can really guide people through the short sale process, working with their bank and things like that. And this week, we're also going to talk about distressed inventory that's on the market, but we're not going to talk about the pre-foreclosure market. We're going to talk about after it's already gone through foreclosure. Now it's either bank or HUD-owned homes. And we started off the month talking about how prices are going up. And as a buyer, I think you start to feel like, well, maybe there aren't any great deals out there anymore. So I wanted to make sure that I brought Alicia on to talk about what kind of great deals there may be out there for homes that have been foreclosed or HUD-owned homes. So one of the things I wanted to do also is kind of tell you a little bit about Alicia. For those of you that weren't listening last week, I'd like to talk about Alicia Trevino. Alicia Trevino is with Century 21. She has offices in Uptown and in Mesquite. She has been voted one of the best realtors in D Magazine for the past 3 years. She's also ranked among the top 100 realtors in the nation by Realtor Magazine. And she's also mentioned in last month's September issue of Forbes magazine as one of the top up-and-coming women in business in Texas. Also, she gives back, and I think that's so important for leaders to give back to organizations, associations, and things like that. And she's been involved in the Texas Association of Realtors and serving on the board of directors there. She's also been involved in the Women's Council of Realtors and the National Association of Hispanic Professionals. And on my sheet here, I have about 10 other items that I could talk about for Alicia, but I really want to get to our topic for today. And so I can easily say that at Real Talk Texas, we try to bring in real experts in industries that we're focusing on for the show. And today we're talking about real estate in North Texas, and I'm really proud to have Alicia in the studio today. So, Alicia, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so for our listeners out there, Alicia, what exactly is a REO or a HUD-owned property? What are those acronyms mean?
An REO property is a real estate owned property. And so there's two differences. HUD homes, which everybody knows, here's HUD homes. HUD is government owned. So let's say it was an FHA loan to originate from, and the government backed it up. So that's considered a HUD home. An REO is actually when you got a conventional loan and you went and put 5% down. So a lot of times I say, did you go 100% financing? Did you put 5% down? Those are normally your REO. And people understand that terminology because they usually know how much money came out of their pocket when they bought the house.
That's true. That's true. So what I hear you saying is that a HUD home would be a government-backed one. Would that also include like VA, USDA, or FHA, or is that just FHA?
Those are just FHA. So a HUD home is always an FHA loan, which means, too, that remember we have certain limitations as price points when you're buying an FHA loan. So normally they're going to be your product that's under $250,000. So that's going to be a HUD home. Where you get into REO, you're going to get into luxury homes. I mean, we've had foreclosures up in the $5 million range. So that's going to be an REO bank-owned foreclosure.
Okay, great. That's the difference between the two post-foreclosure type homes on the market today. I always wonder, if you're thinking of buying a house that's been foreclosed, are people still living in that house? If I buy it, do I have to evict them? Or what's the status of the house? Is it torn up, or what are we looking at?
That's just it. There's all kinds of varieties. You've had a HUD home that's completely destroyed, seriously been vandalized, and you're going to get a super good deal. You're going to put a bunch of money into it. They're always going to be vacant. Any property that has been foreclosed on is going to be vacant.
Okay. Well, that's good. I know we've also talked on the show with several people about the inventories, supply versus demand, and that the total number of listings that are on the market are really down versus the buying activity that we have out there. When it comes to this type of properties, right, what's happening with that market? Are there a lot of them on the market? Are they hidden? What's the deal?
It's anybody's guess right now. Actually, I've talked to many people. I went to Washington this year, sat down with some of the head people in Washington that were real estate related. And, there is a lot of hidden inventory. We don't know what we're going to do with it. We don't know what the government's going to do. It's an election year. Nobody wants to foreclose on anybody during the holidays. So right now, what we have today is we have very low inventories, okay? But we all know that they're out there. How are they going to be sold in this next upcoming year? There's talk that they're going to go ahead and open them up to international investors who are going to buy them as a big group, and they're not going to be allowed to sell them for 3 years. So it takes them off the market for 3 years. They're going to allow them to lease these properties, and then 3 years from now, put them back slowly when the market recovers. I think that's a really good plan. Whether that's actually going to happen or not, I don't know. I think they're going to segment things so that, we only get the drips of foreclosures as opposed to that open hose, get them all on the market, flood the market, and make us all go down in value. I think we learned our lesson. So I think what the government's going to do is they're going to go in there and they're going to actually start selling to investors in bulk.
Well, and I think that's been part of what I've been hearing. I was at an industry conference, and they were talking. They had an REO specialist from Bank of America on stage, and what she was saying was they did not want to just put everything out there right away. It would really damage the values of the non-distressed homes out there if they did that. So you're listening to Real Talk Texas. I've got Alicia Trevino in our studio today for Century 21. She's a real expert in the real estate industry in North Texas. And we're going to come back after the break, and we're going to talk more about some of these secrets of buying foreclosed property.